Galactic Standard Date. Year 11356. Day 94. Sol Standard Date. 4th of the 6th, 3267. Basilisk lit up the city with dozens of pillars of fire. They all shot forth from around him, annihilating all of the nearest Azarians. Once they fell, he dropped to the ground and readied his blade. The first of the Azarians came screaming in at high speed, only to meet with a wave of condensed veil energy that Basilisk launched with a swing of his blade. The energy blade quickly reformed, and he sent another towards the next. The Azarians decided it was best not to go in one at a time after witnessing the deaths of nearly 50 of their brothers. Instead, they circled and surrounded Basilisk. Basilisk saw the situation was about to go far from favouring him, so there was only one thing to do. He needed to create a bottleneck. Vorma al-Swadeh! The ground around Basilisk began to crack, shining pale green light through. The cracks began to form a U-shape before they split open by a few feet and erupted pillars of flame throughout. That ought to make my job nice and easy. Come on in, Tentacruel. I don't bite. The first group of Azarians flooded in, and Basilisk flung the blade of energy at them, killing the first two. The next 7 climbed over their dead brethren and tried to force their way to Basilisk. As they charged, Basilisk took a stance, pointing his blade straight at the lead Azarian. Once his first tentacle grazed him, he thrust forward with lightning speed, absolutely obliterating the thing's face and piercing through its heart. Without missing a beat, he forced the blade down and then up, bisecting the Azarian and bringing him into position to slam his blade down through the head of the next. The second one's head was cut down the middle, destroying its brain. He brought the blade into a sideswipe for the Azarian, trying to flank and hit it with the flat of the blade, flinging it into the pillars of flame. With the screams produced by the third Azarian that got knocked into the wall, the rest of the 200-strong group descended onto the small opening and tried to push over one another to reach their target. Basilisk had taken to cutting an X as he walked forward. God, this is easier than mowing my lawn. These guys are like a poorly scripted AI. Wonder where their big boys are. Might as well clear the mobs and aggro the boss. Basilisk stabbed his sword into the ground. Galtor, Fractar! Basilisk gathered energy into his left fist, watching the flames grow even more intense. Once he was satisfied, he thrust his fist towards the Azarians as a fist of flames erupted from his hand, vaporizing the 100 or so that had made it into the tunnel. The fist carried on through a couple of city blocks before dissipating. The vacuum of air collapsed, sucking the rest of the Azarians down into sight in front of the tunnel. Grekta Makcha! His blade thrummed with power as he poured energy into the blade. He swung the blade and let loose a monstrous beam of condensed energy, plying through the 100 that remained and continuing into the sky. Basilisk watched with satisfaction as the clouds split where his blade had been released. Glad I've got my power back to 100%. Felt so weak without my connection to the Veil. A few Azarian warlords have been watching the battle with their lessers unfold from low orbit, and they physically relayed the order to bring all of the planetary engagement force to bear on this individual. Brands broke out into a cold sweat as he watched the battle between gods and monsters unfold. The powers brought to bear were simply too much for any mortal. He slew all of those lessers as if they were naught but dust. What have we been doing all this time? We are lucky to kill 1 or 2 with the giant beast for every soldier that falls. We only get weaker as time goes on. This being simply strolls in and casually slaughters a couple hundred? What chance would we have if he turned on us in the end? Rosaria looked Brands in the eye. We have exactly 0% chance. There would be nothing we could do to stop him. I get the feeling that what we just saw was little more than a warm-up battle for him. Stretches, even. It truly is amazing every time I see it, though. He just created a wall of impenetrable flame and bottlenecked the horde to effectively finish them with an area attack combo. How could he even predict that all of that would fall into place perfectly? Minister of War Drell had been silently listening in while he watched the war map shift. Suddenly he noticed that all the red dots across the entire planet and the moons had begun to move to their position. Oh my goddess, we are so fucked. The entire Azarian planetary invasion has just begun to converge in our position. Fuck. There's no way we can evacuate the survivors with those big ones holding the orbit. Rosaria and Brand simultaneously looked at Drell and said, What?